There's obviously some errors in there that we'd want back. There always is. But overall, I thought we took a step in the right direction this last week, and we need to continue that momentum going into this one against a really good team. Obviously, don't play any familiar teams, but there's a familiar coach. We've gone against someone when we were at South Dakota State, and he was at Holy Cross, so some similarities. But overall, JMU's a great team. They got great personnel defensively, play extremely physical, run around multiple fronts, but they're fast, and they run around together, and they're physical up front. So it'll be a challenge for us offensively, and then defensively they got numerous backs that are really talented and a really, really good quarterback that's done a really good job this whole season. So I think collectively, O-line-wise, this may be the most complete O-line that we've faced thus far. So it's going to be a challenge for sure, and we're excited for it, and we're going to prepare this week the right way in order to go execute.
I don't think we asked about this after the game, but the Ko Patu play on the fake punt, I mean, just kind of what it almost gets forgotten just because it was so early in the game, but what did that kind of do for you guys, maybe as a spark, just in terms of energy? That can be obviously a huge momentum play for them, and instead it becomes one for you guys.
Yeah, it was huge, and we highlighted that this morning. I forgot to mention it. It was a huge play in the game, and Kale's worked hard, and he's worked himself into a special teams role, and the more he continues to make plays like that, and the more shots he's going to get. So, we showed that to the team this morning. It was a huge play in the game and a huge momentum play. We were able to take over on midfield and have a short field to drive and get a touchdown there. So it was huge.
I think there was a third down play that JMU had sometime, I want to say in the second or third quarter. Tucker had just gone out a little nicked up, and you've got two true freshmen back there. You've got Kyle Peterson, you got Demarius Russell. Just kind of what is that? We've talked a lot about the true freshmen. What does that kind of speak in your faith where in that scenario, obviously down Kale, down Duran, and then down Tucker for a play, you have enough faith in going to two true freshmen and expecting them to be able to perform at that level? Yeah,
they all get coached the same, and we believe in our players, and for them to get in and get that opportunity, we got the same exact look later, but Tuck was in there. So I think it's good for our players to see, get the look, be trusted to go execute the role. He didn't execute that the right way, but then being able to see it later and watch Tuck do it, I think it's just a learning curve, and they're going to get there, and the more they play, the better they'll get. So, if they're going to get in the game and they're going to have a role, there's a good chance that they are already taught that during the week and gotten reps very similar to be able to go out and execute. And our faith's not going to drop. They just got to learn from those mistakes and not make them again.
We've seen over the last few weeks Sullivan's snaps just kind of increase, and it felt like he was pretty much kind of the guy you guys went to on Saturday. Is it a matter of something he's been doing versus what Anthony hasn't been doing, or just kind of what's gone into him taking more and more of the middle linebacker snaps?
They're both very intelligent. They both have had huge moments inside of many games, Anthony included. They just got to a point they were competing, and Sullivan has tackled better. And Anthony will still play, and Anthony's still going to get in the game and rotate. And as if Sullivan's off one day, it's good to have Anthony's going to jump in, and hopefully we don't skip a beat. But to say that anything is just set and secure week to week, they got to come out and perform and do, have a great week of practice and continue to compete. And that's kind of at every position we value like that. So I'm proud of Sully just stepping in and continuing to grow. And he was a guy that was a little nervous about where he sat with reps. Like where we're going to pull a shirt and not play him a lot. And I just said, just stay patient. Anything can happen. You need to just continue to focus on your role and improve. And he's done that. And with the opportunity that he's gotten, he's made the most of it. And more reps have came his way, and he's doing a good job performing. So I think when you reward players of that and show them that, and you're willing to adjust playing time, I think everybody should be chomping at the bit to improve weekly, because it's the showcase of their skill and executing a game plan that we're looking for. And so we got to go with those that are having success.
One win away from securing bowl eligibility. What would that mean for this program other than just one more game for the seniors and all that, and ending the year in a bowl game? What would it mean for this program going forward in the future?
Yeah, for myself and the staff, it's moving in the right direction with a new team, and will help in recruiting, obviously. But for me, it's not about anything other than trying to give our best to this team with a lot of seniors that have invested a lot, not just in this program, but had a faith in coming with us, that they would have special season, and although we've let some games get away from us, and we can't look back at that now, we have an opportunity to close out 2 games, but nothing is more pivotal than this one that we have ahead of us. So it's kind of where I put my focus. It's not necessarily in the bowl in itself. Those in this program know I talk very little about those things. It's more about, hey, we have an opportunity this week. We need to improve on the things that we didn't do well last week and take a step to being the best that we could possibly be right now this week. And that's just the focus. We got to go down to a tough place. This may be one of the louder venues that we've played, even though I think their stadium only holds 25,000. It's sold out, and it will be loud, and it will be loud from the jump. So we need to prepare this week for a really physical game because whether it be JMU that we've played in the past or Holy Cross, where their head coach just came from, there's a level of physicality in this game. Their O-line will be extremely physical. They do a great job operating, and we got to make sure that we match their intensity in the game and then play our level of football and what we're capable of, and those are things that we can control.
JMU has a quarterback that's pretty dangerous on the ground as well through the air. It seems like you guys, after some early season struggles against mobile quarterbacks, had really kind of buttoned that up. Colorado State comes to mind, obviously, this last performance against Louisiana Tech. What do you think the growth and the improvement in that area containing quarterbacks on the ground has come from your defense?
Well, I think we've improved at space tackling. I think that was one of our probably our most consistent game this past week in one-on-one tackling situations and making it, and the first guy making it on his own. I think that was Caleb Francel's best game that he's played this far this season. Colby Humphrey tackled really well on the perimeter. Jamori Colson, it was his best game physicality-wise. So when a lot was said that we wouldn't improve because we were in the middle of the season, I just don't believe in those things. There's things to improve at. There's still things to improve at, and if everybody takes the ownership of their own performance, I think you can look at every week and say these are the things that I need to individually improve at in order for us to take the next step as an offense or a defense. And I think that's extremely important to look at every segment that way because there's still room for this team to reach its best because I still think there's more in there. We had 9 penalties for 90 yards, which versus a tougher team, that the margin of error is going to pay dividends in a win. So we need to lock in and make sure that we execute in all phases, not just on defense or offense, or especially, it's a team and it's our focus. It's a staff included. We need to make sure that we're all chomping at the bit to get better.
Your guys' second highest graded pass blocker, according to PFF, is Adamola. How has he put that together? And when you were trying to get him here, did you anticipate that being such a good part of his game?
I think that may be the most, his biggest improvement has come in the run blocking. So from start to finish, from spring to now, really physical, really willing to put his face in there and drive his feet. And I showcased some of those this morning, and it's not just Mola. Trey Lechner's gotten more physical at the point of contact, and he's done a really good job of being able to block in space. He had some critical blocks on Saturday. So those 2 guys combined, and Hudson Cederland getting in there and mixing it up again was good to see. But overall, I'm proud of Mola and his growth here. He's always been able to catch the ball. He showcased that in fall camp. Maybe he hasn't always gotten the opportunities thus far this season, but he's made the most of his reps and has been really physical when he gets in there.
I got asked about Devin. I got confirmation from Bill that he's no longer part of the program. Was that your decision or his decision, or how did that?
We just decided to part ways. I wish Devin the best, and good kid, and wish nothing but the best for him moving forward.
What kind of led to that whole situation?
That's for me and Devin.
You talked a lot about your the defensive culture and just the strength that provides to this team. For you, how does that trace back to your days at South Dakota State and your experience as a coach, but also as a player? And how did you see yourself buy into a similar culture?
It's pretty much like do your 1/11th, buy into your role, dominate your role, be focused on that because it impacts the team. The offense, they get to punt. The defense, you just get scored on, right? And so there's a certain mindset in which you got to play with. It's a level of intensity, but more importantly, it's the consistency of focus in a game that any play can beat you, and everybody's counting on everybody else on that squad's, doing their 1/11th. So that and just like wanting to do it because you love your teammates. I think Coach Bobbitt's done a really good job of explaining that. It's more of the culture of like buying in for something bigger than yourself, and those guys do that. And we rotate a lot, and they're okay with that because it's helping the team's success. And anytime that you can add more people and more energy that's focused and has a certain level of passion into what turns into a big party when everybody's having success, it just creates joy and excitement and buy-in. And it's hard to explain at times when you get it going. It's like painting a picture, right? You try to do your best to illustrate exactly what it should look like, but there's a certain level of spirit that comes with football, and those guys are playing their tail off and responding the right way and never hanging their head, and as of lately have been the real backbone.
Where do you recall first experiencing a culture like that?
Well, that's kind of what we try to create at South Dakota State as far as, and that took time. That just didn't happen. Took time of many players coming through the group and going through heartache of tough losses and being so close and getting what could have been, a national championship season and letting a game slip away here or there. That impacted our season on where we got seated. Quite a bit different. Just the landscape of college football is different. Like the brackets and how things work out at the FCS level is different than FBS football at the current state. But overall, I think it's, a bunch of players sticking together, buying into a culture on that side of the ball and having a ton of success. And not wanting to leave it, not always thinking that they're going to get it elsewhere. So it just so happens to be I came and some of the players came with me as well. So it helps to have that group with me, and helps, our defensive staff have that group with them. We have 3 senior safeties that have been through some of the best years of defensive history in FCS football. So surely it helps the rest of the guys that haven't been a part of that, and it allows us to have, more success together the longer we're together.
When you look at JMU, what are some of the other matchups that jump off the page?
Say that again.
What are some of the other matchups, whether the defense or offense, that jump off the page for JMU this week?
I think they're really good up front at O-line. I think their special teams are really good. Their running back has got elite speed and great balance, and I think their quarterback does a phenomenal job of kind of reading defenses, but then he uses his legs to hurt you. Their backup quarterback's Matt Saluka, who had an unbelievable year at UNLV and a couple years ago, but he was a great player at Holy Cross, and for him to be a 2 speaks volumes about their starting quarterback. So it's surely going to be a challenge, and we're excited for the matchup.
What about Cale Reeder? Do you expect him to be back this week?
Yeah, he's. We're hoping, but I don't know. We're expecting him back for Oregon State more than anything.
If you guys are able to make a bowl game, it's still a maximum of 3 games left in the season. I just wonder if you notice, and not in a negative way, a different approach when it gets this late in the season for seniors or guys getting ready to wrap up at least their collegiate football career versus how maybe an underclassman is, knows that there are more games to play in the future, but still towards the end of the season. Do you notice any difference, in the guys that maybe might be looking at their last 2, hopefully 3 games of their collegiate careers?
Yeah, I think at times it's bittersweet a little bit as an older player. Like you have a different perspective than the freshmen. The freshmen always think that there's next year, right? And there's something always to follow. But these guys know, a lot of them, know that this may be the last couple games of their entire career. Maybe the NFL isn't in their cards. So, yeah, I think it hits a little different for the seniors, and when you develop relationships inside the program and the older guys reach the younger guys and the younger guys feel comfortable with going and connecting with older players, those things matter because it's an emotional game and you have a different level of spirit of wanting to play for something bigger than yourself. I say it all the time to the players. At some point it will come to the end for you as well, and you're going to want players to play for you. So I know that we have a great group of seniors that have been committed all year, and we owe it to them to give our best to them, just for the opportunity to get maybe a couple weeks together more, because when it's over, and you don't get it back. So, yeah, we talked last week, 14 days left really on the last Saturday, and so we got to make the most of every moment that we get together, and we did that for the most part on Saturday.
Excuse me. Rather than ask you if Mike Sangio is going to play this week, is there a possibility of him getting a medical redshirt? I know he's just at 4 games right now. Or is that something you guys have looked at?
Possibility, yeah.
Want to ask too about a couple of freshmen. I know Demarius and Brody are now at 3 games apiece. Got 2 games left. What's kind of the plan with, are you play them both or kind of keep them both at that 4 game?
We're probably going to keep them both at the 4 game and try to play them in the bowl game.
And then Sam asked about Kale, but also Duran was out. Just kind of what's his status?
He doesn't look like he's going to return this year. Yeah, so other than, make the bowl game, he'll be another person that gets another shot.
And then Caden, the other one, kind of just out.
Caden is going to rep this week, and we'll see how he looks. Should be, if he's cleared, this week and how he looks, he'll be ready to go. He's going to travel.
You mentioned on Saturday, just like when you are able to retain the players or these guys, you can get to 10 points per game on defense. You mentioned, I remember when you first got this job last winter, you mentioned that there were several SDSU players that stayed there despite getting some big-time offers from other schools. What have you learned this year about what it takes to retain these guys that maybe you didn't know in years past?
The commitment of a collective and NIL, because nowadays the agents are so involved and are calling our players and telling our players what they're worth. That part is significantly different. It was happening years ago, even with our own players, but it's just kind of a unique world that we live in. I think the relationships that when you recruit a player and they come to play for you and then you leave, those things are inevitable. But when the players have success inside of a system, and that's what they were seeking in the past, it was more about, well, how do I improve and take the next step here because I had success. And sometimes, and I'm not saying all players are like this, but a lot of times it's like, what am I worth now? Right? And so that's where it's a little different. I don't know. It's unique. It's a unique world that we're living in, and you need to be aware of how important NIL is and the collective is and growing that and not just take for granted the relationships, because at times, you're not always valued at just because somebody's willing to pay you more money. When you get there, you're not valued the same as technically you would at a place that you've been in the system and have a role, just maybe you don't have the money. We need to stay ahead of the curve when retaining players because we're competitive in the NIL market. Otherwise, we're going to be looking at each other when a player leaves, like what has happened here in the past. Will we retain everybody? We won't bat 1,000. I've said that before, but hopefully they have an experience here that is meaningful enough to say, you know what, I know what I can get somewhere else. I love it here because of how I'm coached, because of the relationships that have been formed here. And that's an effort on coaches too, opening themselves up and wanting to do it for the right reason and not just coach a kid just to coach a kid for wins and losses, but to coach a kid because you love them and try to develop them and see how good you guys can be together collectively.
For you, obviously, you didn't get into this job when the NIL and that sort of thing was in vogue. For you, what is it taking to kind of stay ahead of that curve as it's kind of come into prominence, and what kind of motivates you to kind of stay on top of that as the years go by?
Stay on top of what? NIL?
Yeah, just how quickly things are changing with that sort of stuff.
I kind of look at things like what I can control, and I think right now what I control is my effort in all phases, the football team, the relationships with the players, the trying to create the atmosphere and the environment for our players to have relationships with each other, to their coaches, and then never stop trying to fundraise to try to show my efforts in growing it. At the end of the day, my job is to coach a football team and put together a really competitive product on the field, but we're living in the NIL world. I got to make sure that I'm locked into that as well and trying to do my best to bring attention and efforts to that as well, because I know it impacts the roster.
You knew who you were getting in Coach Bobbitt after years of working together, but how have you seen him grow the most from January when you guys got here to today?
A lot. Does a great job just communicating with the players, does a great job with the overall atmosphere in which he allows, but having a sternness in his position, overseeing the defense and having a sternness of how they practice and a standard that they all buy into. But yeah, I would say doing a great job of creating relationships and putting his own stamp on it. I used to be so much more involved. He's kind of taken all of it head on and made twists or tweaks here and there inside of the defense, and we're playing great. And that's a credit to him. That's a credit to the whole staff, Mike Banks, Pete Menich, and Jalen Bibbs, Everett Thompson, that whole crew of people that are in there diagnosing an offense and really committing to the overall product that they put on the field has been impressive.